Hey guys, the Black Critic Guy here with my second top 5 list for the week, and today I'll be counting down my top 5 most disappointing summer films of 2016. These are the films that were coming out this summer that I was uber excited to see. I couldn't wait for them to come out in the theaters, but after seeing them, I couldn't help but feel underwhelmed by them. Now keep in mind, I do not necessarily hate these films. Each of the films on this list I've enjoyed to some degree, and they actually have some good merits worth mentioning. It's just that they also have either the same amount or even more bad elements in them that weigh them down from reaching their full potential and making them actually great. And with all that said, let's get to the list. Clashing at the number 5 spot is Warcraft. As I stated in my review, there are some good, in fact even great moments and elements that are featured in this film. But much like Newton's third law of motion, for every great moment and element, there's an equal and opposite terrible moment and element. Yeah, the orcs were interesting, but the humans were bland. Yeah, the visuals look spectacular, but the story's a mess. Yeah, there were some fun and engaging action scenes, but character bonds were weak. And when balancing it all out, it just comes to be a so-so film with so much potential untapped. Let's just hope, like Batman v Superman, they release a director's cut with 30 minutes of extra footage that can actually pad out and explain and explore more elements. That would make this film incredible. Coming out of the shadows at the number 4 spot is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles: Out of the Shadows. Now, I was an avid defender of the first Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles film. I actually enjoyed that one for what it's worth, and I was really excited to see the sequel. It looked like they were gonna embrace more of the silliness and the fun nature of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and what we got was a so-so film that did its best to be entertaining, but it wasn't as good, in my opinion, as the first one. Now don't get me wrong, the Turtles are still fun, the visuals are on point, and Bebop and Rocksteady were great additions to this film. They actually provide the most entertainment out of any character. It's just all the other elements surrounding them that bog this film down. The human characters are still incredibly weak, and freaking Stephen Amell as Casey Jones was terrible. He was god awful. Not to mention the film's lackluster villains, all 3 of them, and its equally lackluster climax. TMNT OOTS could have been a solid follow-up, but instead it turned out to be swinging in at the number 3 spot is The Legend of Tarzan. Again, much like Warcraft, this film suffers from the too much going on the story syndrome, when it could have just worked as a very simple story following Tarzan trying to take out some baddies. Instead, they have to throw in all these other elements into the story and try to make it more complex than it truly needed to be. Most of the characters, except for one Samuel L. Jackson character, were pretty bland and stoic, especially the main protagonist Tarzan and his main antagonist played by Christoph Waltz. In fact, I don't even remember Christoph Waltz's character's name. The only thing I truly remember about the character is that this cool weapon that he wrapped around his arm that he would like tie around people and strangle them or whip them with. It looked really cool, but that's all the character had. He didn't have any interesting traits to him whatsoever. Now, to its credit, people did rally behind it defending this film, and it did pretty good business at the box office despite all of the negative press surrounding the film, which is very impressive. So they might just greenlight a sequel for the film, and if they do, I just hope and pray they get a better creative team to manage the sequel. As it stands for me, as much as people defended it, I just don't see what they see. I just see a pretty blah and average film that could have been epic. You are all my children at the number 2 spot. X-Men Apocalypse. Man, talk about a huge letdown, especially when coming off of the success of the critically acclaimed X-Men Days of Future Past. What the hell happened? This film literally had everything at its disposal to make a great, entertaining, memorable, and captivating superhero film. They brought back Bryan Singer, the director of 3 of the 5 best X-Men films to date. They have a diverse and talented cast of actors to use. The villain was very intriguing and menacing from what they showed in the trailers. He looked like a formidable threat for the X-Men to face. Not to mention that we get to see some of the most iconic X-Men in their youths. Nightcrawler, Storm, Jean Grey, Cyclops. I mean, the film had so much going for it, and then it just failed so epically. One of the many things that truly irked me about this film that I wasn't able to express in my initial review, as it would have been a major spoiler, is I didn't like what they did with Magneto's character. Magneto, who they've always set up in this new trilogy as being somebody who is hell-bent on mutant domination. He wanted to make sure that mutants were on top of the food chain and humanity had to serve them. All of a sudden, gives up all of that just so that he could play Little House on the Prairie. What the hell? That goes against the character that they set up. I don't know why no one ever brought this up in any of the initial reviews. Did we all just forget that Magneto was never a person that was like, yeah, I want to live in peace. That's the type of person I am. Now, you might say there's a comic that says, yeah, Magneto was like that, and then they killed his family, and that's what brought him back. But from what they were establishing in the films, he was a man that would never be at rest. He would never be at peace. He's always in conflict with himself and with all of mankind. So to see him in the beginning of this film living in the woods with the family and working at some type of mill, I was like, what is this character? This is not the Magneto that they have established in the previous films. Where is he? But at the end of the day, that's just a personal opinion. I had an issue with Magneto in this film, but others actually really liked him. And you know what, that's nice and all, but there are still so many other bad elements that really crippled this film from being great. It could have been good, but it just wasn't. And now here we are at the #1 spot. And I'm pretty sure you all know what my #1 choice is, but for those of you who don't know, my #1 most disappointing summer film of 2016 goes to Suicide Squad. What happened, Suicide Squad? From what the trailers showed us, it looked like this film was shaping to be a really fun, entertaining, and mind-blowing experience. After the failure of Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice, it looked like this might be DC's saving grace this year. And then when I went to see it, it just turned out to be so clunky and messy and incoherent and just not all that entertaining. Contrary to what you may believe, I do not enjoy hating and bashing on DC films. In fact, I'm quite the opposite, as I root for them to succeed. Every time I go in to see a DC film, I always go in with an open mind and always thinking positively before the movie even starts. I keep saying to myself, it might actually turn out to be really great, really enthralling, and it might be at the same level of quality as the rest of the superhero films that are in the market. But each and every time I'm just let down because DC continues to make the same dumbass mistakes. Instead of actually trying to tell a captivating and coherent narrative with some fun and interesting characters that are well developed and well established, they rather just do what is poppy and what is edgy in the times and try to make it just stand out through its style instead of actually trying to tell fun story with interesting characters. I just want DC to have a win. I want to come on this camera praising a DC film for being great and memorable, having a very fun story with interesting characters, something that I could definitely get behind. But instead, I keep coming on this camera and saying the same shit over and over again, and it's just getting tiresome. And to prove that I don't hate DC films, I could have easily have taken Suicide Squad and placed it in my top 5 worst summer films of 2016, but I didn't do that. And you know why? Because I actually see a lot of potential in Suicide Squad, and it actually had some entertaining aspects, more so than any of the films I mentioned in my worst of list. There's something salvageable in this film. It's just that the film that we got in theaters was anything but. And that's why it is my most disappointing summer film of 2016. Come on, DC. Just get good. Get good! And that, ladies and gentlemen, was my list of the top 5 most disappointing summer films of 2016. And I would love to know what you guys thought about my list. Did you agree with it? Did you disagree with it? And let me know what is the most disappointing film that you saw this summer. Comment below, let me know, and stay tuned. I might have a new anime review coming out, depending on whether or not I get it done tonight. And I will have my top 5 best summer films of 2016 coming out tomorrow at the same time. So stay tuned for that. And also I have my live chat happening tomorrow night at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So also get excited for that. And until then, guys, if you would like to see more videos on this channel and be a part of the Black Critic crew, please hit that subscribe button below. Like this video if you really enjoyed it. And I'm Tony Watt II, the Black Critic Guy. Till then, peace, YouTube.